Welcome to Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Dan Monroe. My guest today, Cleveland City Council President and Ward 6 Councilman Blaine Griffin. Council President, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me today, Dan.
How did this all begin? When did you first get elected to Cleveland City Council?
Well, I was first appointed in May of 2017. I was appointed in May of 2017 when the former councilperson became ill and could no longer be the councilperson. So she went through a process of talking with some of the leaders in the ward, and they decided to appoint me. I had been a longtime resident and had a significant background in politics and government. So they chose me as being the councilperson, and then I subsequently got elected the following year.
Well, before that, you had a history working with the city of Cleveland. Talk about your role before you became council.
Well, I had a great job, and I tell everyone this. You know, I was the executive director of the Community Relations Board before I became the council person, and I worked in the cabinet of former Mayor Frank G. Jackson from 2006 to 2017. And in that job, I did everything from work with, the different cultural groups in the city of Cleveland. I worked closely on building police community relations. Worked closely developing a comprehensive youth intervention strategy and for young people, as well as really work on being an ambassador pretty much between City Hall and the community. So it was a great job, got a chance to learn so much about Cleveland, and of course work for a very good person in Frank Jackson, who actually became a very good friend.
Now you're council president. When did you take that post, and what is the process of becoming council president?
I became council president January of this year, January 2022. After serving a 4-year term, the opportunity to become council president became available, and what happens is after the elections, 17 members in the city of Cleveland, because Cleveland has 17 council members, we convene a caucus because we're all Democrats. And once we convene that caucus, we get an opportunity to choose who the council president is. My colleagues had the faith and confidence in me to choose me as being their council president, and I'm honored and privileged to really lead this esteemed body.
Well, what does it mean to be the council president? What are some of the functions you have to do, and how does that compare with your Ward 6 duties?
First amongst equals, pretty much. I'm first amongst equals. Pretty much my job is to really kind of make sure that we formulate the council agenda. My job is to really kind of make sure that I assign committee assignments with all of the council members. We have 8 different committees. Really set the council agenda, really work close with the clerk in order to implement the policies and procedures that we need in order to run an efficient council, and then really act as a liaison for the entire body of council with the administration, as well as with the broader public and corporate community, business community, and every other constituency out there. So there is no job description. Pretty much the council president does whatever it takes to protect the institution of council and really make sure that we move forward our agenda.
Now, when you became council president, you also welcomed in, I believe, was it 5 freshman councilmen?
Yeah, 5 freshman council members and 5 women. So it was a phenomenal class of people that are coming in. And what I like about this council, Dan, is that we have a good mix of institutional knowledge, where we have members that have served for 20 and 40, people like Kevin Conwell and Mike Polensik, who have been here for a while. Then you have the middle of the road guys like me and Councilman Brian Casey and other council members like Kerry McCormick, who is the majority leader on council, and and Jasmine Santana, who's the majority whip. But then you also have a lot of this young, new, innovative energy that's at the table, and they bring great ideas to governing, bring great ideas to how the body can function well. So it's really I'm in a very unique position that I believe I get to recreate, our own identity as a council. And I think it's a very unique identity, and I think it's an identity that will serve Cleveland well over the next 4 years.
Yeah, I spoke with a lot of them. It seems like they've really acclimated well to council life.
Well, many of them have. I tell people that there's pretty much 3 phases, in my opinion, and I know others may have other opinions. 3 phases in my book to public service, and one is that you're an activist. You really believe in your community. You can believe in the environment. You can believe in anti-violence initiatives. You can believe in women causes, civil rights, police, community relations. You can be an activist. Then you move to a point where you can be a politician, where you have to build a collaborative leadership model in order to get people behind your ideas, and sometimes that takes a lot of negotiation, and sometimes you have to engage people that don't always agree with you, but it's the politics, and hopefully you can build a collaborative leadership model that gets things done and helps get you elected. But then comes the hard part, and the hard part is governing. And that's what we're doing right now. We're governing. We have to make tough decisions on behalf of the people. And I think what a lot of them are learning is how to govern better. And sometimes it's not always about your feelings. Sometimes you have to get out of your feelings. And sometimes you have to remember when to be an activist, when to be a politician. But most of all, when do you govern and make decisions that can make sure you help the people of this city?
That's a big job. Let's talk a bit about Ward 6 that you represent. What neighborhoods make up Ward 6?
Ward 6, like Cleveland, is a Dickensian model of a ward. I call it that because it's like Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. I have very affluent areas that are thriving and doing well, and people are bustling and in the streets. And then I have areas that are struggling, and areas that have had years of disinvestment and abandonment and decay, and of course racism, redlining. So I have everything from Little Italy to Larchmere, Fairfax, that includes all of Cleveland Clinic and all of that historical area. I have the Buckeye Shaker Woodland Hills area. Woodland Hills, once again, has the lowest life expectancy of the entire county. The lowest life expectancy, unacceptable. But then I have a small stretch that connects me across the Opportunity Corridor and over to what I call the south side of the ward, which is Slavic Village, Union Miles, Mount Pleasant, and in that area. And if it sounds like it's massive and big, it's because it is.
Wow, that does sound pretty, it sounds huge. And I know there's a lot happening in your ward, too, in terms of development of businesses, new businesses coming in. Talk a bit about what's going on over there.
Well, we've been able to make a lot of things happen in Ward 6, and I'm really excited about that because, I base myself model on getting things done, being able to face complex and vexing issues and being able to develop the coalition and the strategy that's needed in order to try to get things done. And we really worked hard and built a partnership with the Cleveland Clinic and Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. We took about 2 to 3 years of negotiation because originally they wanted to put a biorepository, which is a very innovative way of collecting tissue samples, blood samples, and all those kind of saliva samples from patients at Cleveland Clinic. But I didn't feel like it was a job creator, and I didn't feel like it was the best usage for that corner of East 105th and Cedar. So we made some major steps by making it a design review district and did some other things in order to really try to attract, a different kind of end user at that location. And fortunately, through the partnership that we had with the Cleveland Clinic and also Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation, we were able to attract Meijer Supermarket that has a product and a brand that they have in cities and other cities across the United States. That's a smaller grocery store prototype that we have attracted to come to 105th and Cedar. It's going to be a mixed-use facility. We're very excited about that. That's something that the community wanted. And all of this came from, I actually had the president and CEO of Cleveland Clinic, Tom Mihaljevic, that I actually told him, hey, I want you to take a walk with me through the neighborhood. And we actually walked through the neighborhood. We talked to seniors while they were sitting on their porch. We talked to some young people and children while they were at the park. We talked to longtime residents, and they were shocked to just see the CEO of the Cleveland Clinic. Here they live in the shadow of this world-renowned institution, second highest ranked hospital in the United States. And here's the president and CEO walking the ward with the council person. It was something that they were really excited about. And they told the clinic some of the things that they would like to see. And there's three things that I've always worked with them on. And one is fair and equitable development, because I'll be honest, the trust between the clinic and the community has not always been intact. The second thing is really to deal with workforce so that we can have access to those family-sustaining wages and jobs that they have at the Cleveland Clinic. And then, of course, do what they do best, access to research and high quality health care for the people in our wards and in our area. So because of that partnership, we've been able to do some great things, not just in the ward, but also in the city. But I also have some other exciting projects like the Woodhill Choice project that's coming up over at Woodhill Estates and Morris Black, what some people call it. That is a $35 million grant that we got from HUD in order to, and we were one of, I believe, 6 cities to get that grant. And now that's going to yield approximately $200 million investment in what I just told you was one of the most hardest impacted areas in our city.
Yeah, that was determined to be, like you said, a choice neighborhood by the Housing and Urban Development.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did they find the Buckeye Woodhill neighborhood to determine that's a choice neighborhood?
Well, one of the things that we really did is, once again, and you'll hear me say this, we really built a great collaborative leadership model, working closely with CMHA, making sure that we had the residents engaged. We worked closely with the Development Corporation, which is Burton Bell Carr. We work close with the institutions like the hospitals and RTA and other institutions. And of course, the city, made a significant investment in this area to really try to make this project happen. I always thank my colleagues because all 17 members voted to support this project. And we really built a great model. We actually failed the first time. And it was so important to us. And a lot of us were very frustrated and upset that we didn't get it, because I actually happen to live a half a mile from there. So a lot of those kids grew up with my children, and I know them very well. And we didn't get it the first time, but we still stayed at it. We continued to address the shortcomings that we had in our first proposal, and we wound up getting it on the second round. And now this project is going to yield significant results for this area. And it's not just for the estates, it's really so that we could deconcentrate poverty. Because what we've done that people see that does not work, that government has done, is that they made these islands of poverty where you really don't have that social economic integration that needs to take place, so that a young person can see not just a working class person or not just a person living in poverty, but doctors, lawyers, and others that live in their neighborhood. And that's something that we took very seriously. I do also have other areas that's doing very well, like Little Italy is really doing well. Larchmere is doing well. We have a lot of new developments like 121 and the Micros apartments over on Larchmere that bring density so that we can have more foot traffic for all of those small businesses that we have in those corridors. So we have a lot of great things happening.
Fairfax too, getting some new construction.
Fairfax is doing great. It has new construction in Fairfax. We have a housing boom in Buckeye that a lot of people are not talking about. And then we have private developers. And I often tell people that as a council person, you have to really be aggressive about going out and trying to find people in the free market in order to try to couple with government dollars in order to get things done. So I was able to work close with a private developer who was thinking about buying the Buckeye Plaza. And once again, I put him in the car and I said, let's ride the neighborhood. I want you to see where we'd like to have investments and why it'll be good for you to buy this plaza. He subsequently bought the plaza because of the friendship that we built. He's actually coming in town this weekend. We've actually developed a pretty good friendship. And he's put in no less than $20 million into the plaza. plaza since he's bought it. So these are the kind of things that council people have to do in order to really try to find ways to do what I call that 3P. Public, private, and philanthropic partnerships in order to make sure that we have investments in our community. Government can't do it alone, so we have to go out and find partnerships in order to make sure that we leverage our dollars in order to get private investment in our area as well.
Well, I know on that half we have all the great, exciting things happening in Ward 6, but there's also challenges in your ward, and especially in every ward now, with making sure homes are lead safe. Lead's a huge issue going on right now. What are you doing? How's that effort going to get these homes back on track, get the lead safe word out there?
Let me say this. I will tell you that I've become convinced. And everybody asks, well, what makes a strong city? And of course, you always want to say a central business district, a strong downtown. I've also, always said we need to make sure we bring economic development into our community. I've been told that, we need to fix our education system. That will be the panacea that will fix Cleveland. I've been told that we need to deal with crime, because crime is a problem in Cleveland that none of us can deny. Safety is a huge issue in our city. Even if it's real or perceived, it's a problem in the city of Cleveland and most urban areas across the country. But I've become convinced that housing insecurity is one of the, maybe the biggest problem that we have in the city of Cleveland, which is why I think this council has done more to really try to address housing insecurity than any other body in the history. And included in that is really working on a lead-safe Cleveland initiative. Notice I didn't say lead-free. Lead is in everything, and it's a huge problem. And it's something that we really took serious. And what we did is we worked close with the administration, the former administration, and the present administration to really make sure that we had, number one, a comprehensive plan, a public-private partnership in order to address the issue. And then make sure that the first thing that we did, once we put that public-private partnership together, is we put a historical piece of legislation together. That's the cornerstone of why we've been able to do what we're doing with trying to make Cleveland lead safe. And with that legislation, we made it mandatory that everyone that has a rental property in the city of Cleveland has to make sure that they get a third-party independent test from a clearance examination or those kind of examinations in order to make sure that that property is lead safe. And they have to do it every 2 years, or if they got a full waiver for 20 years, they would have to gut the entire house and rebuild the entire infrastructure so that it's lead free, so that we can make sure that we don't have a canary in the coal mine approach, because before the only thing we were doing is testing, and then we will find that all of these children, 25% of the children going to the Cleveland public school system were exposed to lead, and any amount of exposure, even a small pack, as small of a package of sugar, can cause irreparable harm to a young person. So once again, working in that partnership, we had a goal to raise $99 million in order to help small mom and pop landlords and others make their homes lead safe through grants and loans. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, approximately 2 years later since we passed that law, we now have $115 million that we've raised to that. And I want to commend the Cleveland Clinic, because for $52 million of that, not just 50, $52.5 million of that is from the Cleveland Clinic. Other hospitals have given and supported this initiative, several of the philanthropic organizations, and the city of Cleveland put in $5 million of general fund money and $17 million of ARPA funding in order to try to make sure that we have this fund. So we didn't just want to provide the stick through the legislation and hold people accountable. That's important. But we also wanted to provide the carrot to make sure that some of these people, even though they have rental properties, they're just mom and pop rentals. That's just basically seniors living on fixed income in some cases that might rent out an upstairs to a niece or nephew that has children, and they need help too. So we really think that we have a good balanced approach. We're still waiting on the results to make sure that we don't have any unintended consequences, because we're, with any legislation or any of these kind of strategies, you have to make sure you consistently tweak them in order to make sure that they meet the intended need that we set forth.
Yeah, and like you said, that public-private partnership really is, quote unquote, paying off and helping getting this initiative funded and keeping it funded. You know, everyone knows this is a big problem. So
It's a
good to
huge
see
issue.
people coming together.
It's a huge issue, and I would tell you that lead is probably public enemy number one in our city. Once again, you know, we always talk about crime, we talk about poverty, we talk about all those things, but what we don't talk about enough is what are the root causes that cause some of these folks to make these decisions or live in perpetual poverty and generational poverty. And what we found is that lead was a huge contributor to it. So, you know, when we have an obligation as public servants and elected officials, all 18 of us, the mayor and 17 members of council, have an obligation to protect the public at all costs, even if it's in their own homes. So that's what we're doing. We know that it's a very important initiative, and we know that we have, you know, always challenges onboarding. We'll tell you that COVID-19 really exacerbated the issue because children were spending more time at home. So I tend to believe we had more children that were probably exposed, which shows why we need to have a sense of urgency to deal with this.
Let's switch gears a bit. Let's look at your ward and the city as a whole as opportunities for people coming in. Talk about the different opportunities that are there now, maybe for working or for anything else, and maybe opportunities that might come up in the future that you might see on the horizon.
In the ward, I think Ward 6 is uniquely positioned to benefit off of the anchor institutions that we have in the area, being the Cleveland Clinic, being Cleveland Institute of Art, Case Western Reserve. So our eds and meds facilities really give us a unique opportunity to be an attractive area that people want to be in. 25% of Cleveland's economy comes from Ward 6. You have 50% that comes from the downtown central business district, but then 25% because of Cleveland Clinic, the universities, and the thousands of jobs that are created in that eds and meds district is from Ward 6 area. So we have a unique opportunity to really be, an attractive location where if we can build the housing to meet the demand for the job creation that's taking place, I think Ward 6 has a unique opportunity, and that's why the Cleveland Clinic and us have been doubling down to really try to take advantage of those opportunities to build worker housing and other things in this area. You know, so I'll tell you this: when you look at the city of Cleveland, I think that Cleveland's biggest critic are ourselves. I think that we have a tremendous water source. 1/5 of the world's fresh water is in our backyard, and I think that we can take a tremendous amount of opportunity. We have a tremendous opportunity to deal with it in economic development capacity. We have a tremendous opportunity to make sure that we deal with it from an environmental standpoint. So there's so many things that we could do with a fresh water source. Water is our oil, and we have to start looking at it that way. And then I think we have a great opportunity because right now we are one of the most least wired cities in the United States of America. In order to take advantage of bringing back manufacturing companies and others, we have to make sure we build our infrastructure with high fiber optics and other type of technology in order to really embrace Industry 4.0 and the future of work. So I think we have a great opportunity, especially with some of the things that are coming from Washington, D.C., to rebuild our infrastructure in order to deal with broadband and make sure that we become a highly wired city, which will help with our economic development, help with our workforce. Telehealth has grown tremendously in the last year or two. We also know that education, showed COVID-19 exacerbated the digital divide. We know that children need it for education. And then just out of safety, just to make sure that most cameras that you get for your house, need some kind of high-speed wireless service or high-speed fiber optic. And so it's really imperative that we really wire our city the right way in order to be able to compete and be able to be a competitive city. So that, and I think we just really have a great opportunity. Cleveland is a city that you can navigate. The people are friendly. You don't have to deal with traffic jams everywhere you go. There's plenty of land. There's plenty of opportunity. We just have to be creative and innovative and be able to take advantage of all of the things it has to offer.
Yeah, I know I love bringing friends from out of town into Cleveland who might be a little nervous coming into Cleveland, thinking of what they heard on other outlets, but they find that Cleveland's just a beautiful place, full of arts, full of culture, full of entertainment. So Cleveland, I'm really for showing off this city.
Well, I tell everyone, if you really love Cleveland, the food tastes good. You love the sports teams. You love the arts and culture. You really take in the city. You really find out this is a great city. And I've been all over the world. I've been to a lot of different places all over the world. And I say this sincerely. Cleveland matches up with everybody. We're just as good as everybody. I'm a Midwest guy. Don't send me to either coast. Send me right here in the heart of it all, in Ohio, in Cleveland. That's what I like.
Well, Cleveland is a great city, and I think we also learned today that Ward 6 is a great ward. It's dynamic, it's moving, it's shaking, it's growing. A lot's happening. If people want more information on Ward 6, where can they go?
They could always go to our Cleveland City Council website. If you go to Cleveland City Council, and then you could actually find all of the things that council is doing as a whole, as a body. But then you also can find out some of the things that each council member is doing. And my website is up there as well. It's very, very interactive. You can go even do things like punch in your address to see where, what ward you live in. Some people, they just want to get active. A young lady who just moved into the neighborhood, she said, I want to get active. And I don't know what ward I'm in. And I just pulled up my phone and said, here you are, you're in Ward 6. And I have a bunch of things for you to do right now.
here's
so
my
sign
list.
up. Here's the list. So yeah, those are the kind of things that we need to do. But then we have great amenities like Caramoo House, the oldest African-American theater in the United States of America. Once again, we have some very cool, neat, innovative projects. Like I mentioned, the biorepository. This is a fact that a lot of people don't talk about, why I'm so into research and science. 90% of the medicine that is administered to us are tested on white males. And now the reason why I'm so supportive of trying to make sure that we take advantage of like this biorepository and really deal with Ancestry.com and 25andMe and other kind of important initiatives is because I want more African Americans to take advantage of that research and study so that we can have medicines and other things that are specific to our DNA and specific to our genetic makeup. And those are the kind of things that it's always cool to go into Cleveland Clinic and see some of the things they do. I actually got a chance to watch a heart surgery one day, and I can't stand watching it on TV. It really is annoying to watch it on TV, but to watch it in person and to see somebody's chest cracked open and watching a heartbeat and doing that is really a cool thing. Yeah. So it's really cool to watch some of the things that they're doing with the Cleveland Clinic and Innovation and University Hospital, all the things they're doing, and then places like CIA, and then I have great companies like Nottingham Spurk that's in the area that is the inventor of Swifter wet jet. And they're inventors, and every time that I go there, it's always great to learn something new that I call them the two Johns, John Nottingham, John Spurk, that they really are doing over there. So I have some neat things happening in the ward, but once again, I also have crushing poverty, and I also have a misery index that sometimes, keeps me up at night more than anything, because at the end of the day, I think government needs to do more to serve poor people, and I don't think we do enough to serve poor people.
Well said, well said. Council President, if we can, I'd like to look at some world events and how it's affecting Cleveland and its residents. The first being COVID-19. It's still here, and a lot of workers now are working from home, a lot of them not wanting to come back to their offices, especially here downtown. What's Cleveland doing to try and attract the workers back to the office?
Well, COVID-19 devastated a lot of things, and to be honest with you, it's going to impact us for years to come. It is no longer a pandemic. In my opinion, it's an endemic. It's something we're going to have to deal with for the long term, and something that we're going to have to adjust to. I believe it's going to continue to mutate. I believe it's going to continue to have its ebb and flows. I believe that we're going to continue to have to stay on top of our vaccination rates. So from a health standpoint, I think that COVID is pretty much here to stay. And it's something that all of us us are going to have to be diligent about, to make sure we wash hands, to make sure that we're cautious. And when we do have high rates of transmission, return back to wearing masks, because now we see what works. We see what actually works in order to create that herd mentality that we need in order to not let this affect the people that are frail and elderly and have died. So many people have died, and my condolences to the entire city of Cleveland for anyone who has lost a family member to this crisis. Totally, you have my complete and most sincere condolences. But COVID-19 really exacerbated a lot of other financial issues that we're going to have in the city of Cleveland. So we've been working closely with the administration and the Downtown Cleveland Alliance to really attract workers back to the city of Cleveland. So Mayor Bibb and myself have attended several meetings and events where we really have just met with business owners and trying to do everything to incentivize people to come back town. We want to make sure that people recognize why downtown is so cool and why they wanted to work downtown in the first place. We also want people to recognize that downtown is the heart of the entire region. It's if downtown fails, there's no successful region. I don't care if you live all the way in Ashtabula or all the way over in Elyria or wherever, Sandusky. If Cleveland is not strong, everybody else will suffer. So we need everyone to realize that they need to rally around this downtown business district and come on back to work. Remember why downtown was cool, but also make sure you come back into the city of Cleveland, because we need downtown to thrive. And I think everybody needs to realize that we all have a role. Not just punting and say, well, the elected officials and the politicians and the corporate people or somebody else has a responsibility to fix it. Somebody should wake up in the morning, and most residents in the city of Cleveland and throughout the region should just wake up and say, how can I help make Cleveland strong again? And just doing their little part by coming back to work downtown is a huge step, even if it's only for a few days at a time.
I just want to reiterate what you said. Downtown is cool.
It's cool.
It's cool.
It's cool.
Looking now overseas, the war in Ukraine still going on, no end in sight. But how is Cleveland helping, with the effort or even with refugees who may find themselves coming into the city?
Cleveland has been, we passed a resolution first and foremost, condemning what I believe is one of the most egregious acts that I've seen in my lifetime with, this Russian president, President Putin, that just decided that he was going to just invade another country. If you really look at what was the rhyme or reason or the cause, nobody could really tell you other than he wanted it. Or, he believes that it belongs under Russia's tent. And it's one of the most egregious acts that I've seen by a world ruler in a long time. And I'm really concerned because I think it is really at a tipping point. And with what he's trying to do to really, I think, is almost agitating NATO. And I think one move by either side can really trigger a tremendous catastrophe in our world. So it's very touchy. I've watched it very close. It's hurting food prices. It's hurting gas prices. I do think that there's a tremendous amount of speculation and price gouging that people are doing, and I hope that at some point in time the feds and others will look into any businesses that have taken advantage of America's misery during this time. But it's caused a ripple effect, and it's caused inflation, and it's caused so many other things. And once again, I think it's a horrible thing. We've been really working hard. We have a large Ukrainian community. We also have Ukrainian workers in here in the city of Cleveland that have a Ukrainian background and have parents that actually either live in Ukraine or are, from the Ukraine. So we've done a lot of things to really try to make sure that we support the Ukrainian community and through charitable and everything else, charitable causes, but also working closely with groups like Global Cleveland to make sure that we can find placement and other things. Hey, we got plenty of houses here in the city of Cleveland, have plenty of land. I'm willing to bring in a large Ukrainian footprint that I think will be helpful to our city.
The welcome sign is out. The welcome mat is out. Finally, let's look at the Supreme Court. It's a different Supreme Court, and they've been rolling back a lot of landmark cases, reversing them, that kind of affect everyone's civil rights. What are the ramifications of those rollbacks on resident, city of Cleveland.
Well, first of all, it is.
Like Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, I mean, it affects the city of Cleveland tremendously. And what a lot of people don't realize is that a wealthy person that has money and means can go anywhere, and even if they even had to leave the country or go to another state, they have the means to go and do women's reproductive health. I, in the city of Cleveland, have the only reproductive health, women's health clinic with preterm in Ward 6. And I know very well how much is needed to make sure for women to have reproductive health. But women should have choice. They should have a choice over their own bodies. And government needs to stay out of the bedroom of these women. I think it is a tremendous overreach by activist judges that want to roll back all these social issues because they're self-righteous and because of their own beliefs and not what the Constitution says. And I think that's a fatal flaw. I think a lot of them misrepresented themselves in the congressional hearings. I hope there's a way to reveal that and to show how they misrepresented themselves. When I look at Gorsuch and I look at Amy Coney Barrett and I look at a couple of the other ones, they all said, hey, we believe that the Constitution protects this. And, you know, and then they reneged on their conversation when they got into Supreme Court. That's why one of the reasons why I do believe that there should be some kind of Supreme Court reform. But let's make it clear, a lot of these folks and these conservative folks that believe in pro-life, and I respect everyone's having an opinion. Everybody should. This is America. This is free speech. You have a right to believe in whatever you like. But what always perplexes me and what always is a concern of me is that a lot of these same people want to force these women to have children, but then they don't want to have any government support or any kind of infrastructure in order to support these families that a lot of times end up in single parent households and end up in crushing poverty and all kinds of other problems that they have. And then if they do so happen to get caught up in the criminal justice system and do so happen to do something, a horrible crime or something, because of their adverse childhood experiences or other root causes that really kind of made them have mental health issues, and they do commit egregious crimes, then they're the first ones that are advocating for extreme punishment, like extreme incarceration and capital punishment, the death penalty. So it really their logic really doesn't line up with me. I think that once again, it all goes down to a woman should have a right to choose. A woman should have, control over her own body. We made a statement as Cleveland City Council, and we want to be aligned with the mayor. The mayor and I have talked about this. We're going to look together at what we could do legislatively and administratively from Mayor Bibb's side in order so that we can make sure that we do everything we can to support the women that are young, a lot of times young, black, and poor, and young people of color. We're going to do whatever we can to support that population because that's who we represent. Yeah. So we're here to do that. And then I also want to say I'm very proud of the women of council. One of the privileges that I have and one of the joys that's been is really to watch the women of council when they really spoke out and they created their own statement because they wanted to make it seem like little girls could see women in authority speaking out on their behalf. And I was proud of those women because even though we all as council spoke out, and even though me as council president and me as the Ward 6 councilman made statements, it was really enlightening and really great to see the women, all 5 of the women that we have on council, make a united stand and say that as well. So I think City Council really has made it clear that we stand with women on this issue. We stand with a woman's right to choose.
All right. Well, finally, one positive coming out of the Supreme Court today. Ketanji Brown is the first black female justice to the Supreme Court. Talk about that. Talk about what a historic moment this is that she's now in the Supreme Court.
Well, first of all, I'm just so happy for black women. You know, black women in the United States of America catch a lot of flack, and for little girls and little boys to be able to see a strong black woman to be on the Supreme Court, and she's going to be confirmed and being sworn in I think in a day or so. I'm just so, man, I'm so excited. It's like an exciting moment in history. Let's face it, black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Black women are the backbone of the city of Cleveland. As I mentioned earlier, approximately 66 or higher % of my ward is represented by black women, single parent heads of household. So just to have an opportunity for black women across this country to be able to see a vice president that's African American in Kamala Harris, but now to have a Supreme Court justice in Ketanji Brown, who is highly qualified, highly motivated, highly skilled, to be in that position is just so great for us. It's a great day. It's one of those Black History moments that I think shouldn't be relegated to just Black history, but should be American history, and everybody should be cheering this moment at this time.
Well said, Council President Blaine Griffin. We've learned a lot today about Ward 6, City Council, City of Cleveland. It's been fantastic talking with you. I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Dan Monroe, and we'll see you next time.